to 11 Newbury Street. I start freaking out. That June, I invited Judy Ann Goldman to curate an exhibition. The result was a group show of 4 painters titled, quote, Concrete Abstraction, unquote. It was my first exposure to the work of Joseph Marioni and my first extended experience with monochrome painting. Looking back, I wish I could say I knew I was in the presence of something special. The truth is, I was at the beginning of a process that would help my vision as a gallerist. One of the memorable moments of this journey took place October 26, 1993, which also happened to be my birthday, which I don't mention that, but a week or so into the show, I called Carl Beltz, who was then the director of the Rose Art Museum at Brandeis. I had known Carl since the mid-'80s when he would on occasion come to my gallery in Andover, and we would talk sports. That's all we did. We never talked about art. We talked about sports, basketball in particular, because he was a big basketball player. After I moved the gallery to South Street, I saw more of him and our friendship deepened. Anyway, I knew Carl was a painting guy. I had a painting show, so I called him. I still have this image of him coming into the gallery, pausing for a moment to survey the room, and then heading directly to Joseph Marioni's 2 paintings. 4 weeks later, in July, I had arranged a studio visit with Carl Beltz and Joseph Marioni on Tuesday, October 26th. In the fall of 1993, New England was coming out of one of the worst recessions in its history. The real estate market had collapsed, and there were a number of bank failures. The battle cry coming out of New York had been, quote, stay alive till 95, unquote. It was a tough climate to sell art in. It had been several months since I had made the date with Carl, and I was concerned that he might have lost interest in doing this. I called him a few days before to confirm, and could tell he was wavering. But we agreed on a time for me to pick him up. Early in the morning of the 26th, the first words out of his mouth when he got into the car were, quote, why am I doing this? You can count on one hand the times that you bring 2 people together, and the result is magic. When Carl Beltz and Joseph Marioni met that day, I knew I was part of something special. The conversation about art and painting in particular was wonderful. I listened. We had lunch at Manganaro's, an Italian deli around the corner from Marioni's studio, and the conversation continued. We stayed until late in the afternoon, and then we drove back to Boston, tracking a full moon. We both knew that we had shared a special experience. The trip down to New York City, we talked sports, politics, and family. On the trip back, we talked about art. Since that October visit, my involvement with Joseph Marioni's paintings has grown. The first time I showed the work in the one-person show exhibition was April of 1996. The response to the work was amazing. The show sold out. I am not sure, but I cannot remember whether there was ever an exhibition of monochrome painting in Boston before this. I gotta go to a page. It's close. For sure, there have not been many. I was impressed with the range of people who responded to the work. It included people who took a lot of art to entry-level people to entry-level people. There was a rare review in the Boston Globe by Kate McQuaid with a headline that screamed, quote, seeing red at Yezerski, unquote. In it, McQuaid describes the paintings as washing, quote, over and into the viewer like music. Yes, the paintings are beautiful, but more than that, there is a generosity of spirit and emotional resonance in the work that touches people. In April of 1998, the inaugural show at 14 Newbury Street was a group of 8 artists titled, quote, color-based painting. This exhibition was built around the radical painting group that's formed in the 70s and consisted of work by Rudolf de Crinius, Masha Hafif, Joseph Marioni, Ingo Meller, Phil Sims, Frederick Thurs, Peter Tollins, and Ulrich Wellman. I was particularly excited about this show because it addressed issues of how to look at art. There is looking and there is seeing. People would come into the quote, color-based painting quote, show, look briefly, and assume that this exhibition was a one-person show. When told it was 8 artists, they were first surprised, but then looked more carefully at the work. The longer they spent looking at the paintings, the more the work separated for them. The irony in that this work, which on the surface looks so similar, can be identified by a discerning viewer than a single square inch of painting. Also, that very same weekend, the Rose Art Museum at Brandeis University opened, quote, Joseph Marioni Paintings, 1970-98, a survey, unquote. After our initial visit of October 26, 1993, Carl and I started talking about Marioni's work, and more specifically how to get a painting into the Rose collection. This was the beginning of the dialogue that eventually culminated in his mid-career retrospective at the Rose. In between, during what turned out to be a 4-year process, there were some ups and some downs. But with the passion Carl felt for the work, there was no way he was not going to do the show. As it turned out, it was to be Carl's last show as director of the Rose Art Museum. The show had some risks, although Marioni had a very solid reputation in Europe with a number of museum catalogs to his credit. His work was not yet well known in America. Also, you could question the relevance of this work that was not about the body, not about gender politics, and not about multiculturalism. What it was about was painting distilled to its essence. Carl knew the context in which to place Marioni's work and its importance within the dialogue of Western painting. This exhibition was reviewed in Art Forum September 98 by Michael Fried and gave Marioni national recognition in the art world. To date, I've had the pleasure of living with 3 of Joseph Marioni's paintings, a large white painting that is 8 feet high, a medium-sized red painting that is 42 inches high, and a small blue painting that is 2 feet high. Each has a distinctly different essence. The blue painting, which is the darkest of the 3, I think of as a flower opening up in the morning as the light gets stronger and closing down at night as the light goes down. You can feel the painting breathing. It is the most introverted of the 3 and it has the deepest space. The red painting, which is a red that seems to me to have a lot of luster and gold in it, is a wonderful portrait of that color. There is joyousness I associate with that painting, making it a celebratory visual experience while at the same time maintaining a quiet dignity. It is also for me among the more reductive of his work with no contrasting underglazes and a relatively quiet surface. The large white painting, which hangs under a skylight, is the one that undergoes the most changes depending on the light. This painting can be seen regardless of how weak the light is. It is also the most physical of the 3, with the most activity on the surface. It is a painting that is not best described by the term white. Of the 3 paintings, I would say that it is the toughest to warm up to because of the color, which is very elusive, but its range is truly astonishing. It is the extrovert. These 3 paintings exemplify some of the range that is in Marioni's work. Each of them engenders a different emotional response from the viewer. If the viewer is willing to get behind the wheel and the painter has provided the vehicle in which to make a truly enriching visual experience, visual journey. It is now late September 2001, almost 8 years since that initial visit to Marioni's studio. Like any business, the gallery business has its highs and lows. I have come to realize that you are never as smart as you think you are when things are going well, nor as dumb when things are not going so well. I have also come to realize that for me, the relationships are as important as the art. So thank you, Joseph Marioni, for making beautiful paintings that lift the human spirit, and thanks to all of the people I work with who have made my life richer by being who they are. That's it.